recording. So in previous lecture we have discussed very basics of computers, which is your input output devices, and a little bit about that block architecture also, how you will be having this complete interface which will be working, what exactly we mean by ALU. But now we will be moving towards each and every component in very much detail. So if you see the first memory which is there is you have primary memory and secondary memory. These are the two memory areas through that your computer is interacting, through that your computer is saving your data and processing your data. And in that case, the first which is required for your operations for computers and for to start that computer, we have two types of memory. First one is random access memory, and another one is read-only memory. If you see this read-only memory is required for your BIOS operation, which is basic input-output operation, or you can say where you have all the commands or all the instruction to boot your operating system into the computer. Because whenever you switch on your system, first thing that hardware should have an interface which is known as operating system that should be mounted on your machine. So this ROM, which is read-only memory, has all those instructions which is to start your system and which is to load your operating system into the memory. And this particular ROM which is there, which is a read-only memory, is a kind of a permanent form of storage, but is of a very small size. It is not of a very huge size into that, because we have only the primary instructions to start with the power supply, or to start with the complete operation. And even if you switch off your abruptly you switch off your machine, or there is some power failure, this particular memory area won't be corrupted until unless there are some kinds of problem with that particular ROM itself. So this is a very small, you can say, part of memory, but it is very much required to start and to boot your machine. Whereas we have this random access memory, which is basically there for storing data on temporary basis. So when you do certain operations, when you are giving certain instruction to add something, to pick something, to read something, all those things will be temporarily goes to this particular memory area, which is known as random access memory, and it is volatile in nature. What do I mean by volatile? That means once you switch off and once that session is over, that particular area, which is temporary area where your instruction has been written or some data has been fetched in that particular RAM, will be wiped off. There will be no instance of that particular or you can say variable or that particular area. So this is being required for your execution, for you can say access any of the memory which you are reading, which you are writing, or which you are updating. So all those things will be handled with the help of RAM, and it is a kind of a memory which is basically related to the performance. Because if you see the kind of system which are coming nowadays, the first thing that you ask is the kind of hard disk storage, what is the size of hard disk storage, and then you are interested in a processor, whether it is octa core, whether what kind of processor is being given over there, and RAM support kitna hai, and you will go for that instruction size also. Because if you are into computer science and engineering and you wanted a machine where you will be able to execute any kind of IDE and uh, any kind of tools or compilers, in that case those things are very much required. Because nowadays we have programming in Python, we have programming in lots of open source solutions which are available. Hadoop is there for big data, Mahout is there for machine learning, TensorFlow is there, Kera is there, but they all require minimum configuration on that system to execute all those kinds of open source solution. So that is a very much required, you can say, setting or configuration that we need for system and for the instruction to be executed on your machine. So these are the two major primary memory area, and most of the time this difference can be asked in your exam also, that what is the difference between these two. And if you go for MCQ part, some of the points will be picked up and you need to look for which one is the best suitable option. And once we will finish with this module, we will also do one quiz. We will do also one MCQ quiz where whatever you have studied till now will be presented to you in the form of a question, and we will discuss answer also for that, so that you will have an idea how to prepare for that. So if you see this major difference between random access memory and read-only memory, it starts from volatile and non-volatile property, because we are saying that whatever instruction has been written in read-only memory, those are the instructions which are read-only. Right? Because once it has been written, we cannot update it, we cannot change it. It will remain same for the your system. And whereas in case of random access memory, whenever it is being required to load anything, to read something, it will be a read write memory. Those things will be read from the memory area temporarily, and you can do certain modification, and before committing that will memory area will be there in your system. And once you are finishing with that particular session, it will be wiped out, or if you switch off the system, it will be wiped out from the memory, because that is a temporary part. So that is why it is being written that it loses the data stored in it when the power is turned off. That is why you have this property of autosave also. In most of the application software, there is option with the name autosave, which after a period of time it automatically saves your data, because if there is any power failure or any issue is there with the system, your data should be in a state so that you can get the previous best configuration state. So that is why this property is being given, just because of this property of random access memory. Whereas in case of ROM, even if you switch off your system, that particular instructions and all those data will remain same, because it is a permanent storage. Size is very small, so it is cheaper, but it is a required memory only for BIOS operation, so that will be there. It is not at all giving you any kind of performance thing over there. Only thing is, it is only giving you the boot sequence into that. And if we see that data will be modified easily, because whatever operations we are performing, that goes to RAM rather than ROM. So, and in ROM we never do, or modification, any kind of modification we never do. That has been once it is being configured, we only read all those instructions. So this is the major difference between random access memory and read-only memory, which is your primary memory area. Is it clear, or any doubt to anyone? Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
If you wanted to switch off camera right now, you can switch off, and when we will do the interaction or any question answer format, you can start it. Okay. So any doubt to anyone? Yes, Divyam is asking something.
Ma'am, but we do modify data on ROM when we first buy the laptop. We install the OS on it, so we can
Yes.
modify data on
But that is the first time when you are interacting. Okay. But afterwards, you won't do that every day. That whenever you wanted to boot, you won't do that. Once you have written, that will be remain there over in that particular memory as a read only part itself. Every day we don't do any modification updation into that area, otherwise that will be corrupted one. Okay. Yes, Part, you're asking something.
Then, but when we install another OS on
Uh-huh.
a laptop, then we overwrite the ROM.
See, if you're already having operating system already there, what you do dual partitioning into that. है ना, जैसे विंडोज है तो मैं उसका डुअल पार्टीशन बना लेती हूँ.
Yes,
बट मेरा इंस्टेंशिएशन पॉइंट क्या होगा, मतलब सिस्टम जब स्टार्ट होगा तो विच शुड बी द फर्स्ट वन. अगर आप उसका कुछ सीक्वेंस चेंज करना चाहते हो, देन यू ओवरराइट. अदरवाइज आप डुअल पार्टीशन पे दोनों चीज़ों को डाल सकते हो. ठीक है.
no, no, no.
नाउ
I'm saying that when we install another OS on an existing laptop, because of some changes, yes, I have made changes to an operating system and I don't like it, so I reinstall the operating system. So then I change the ROM,
यस
data
यस
save.
यस. बिकॉज उस टाइम पे आपने क्या किया, जो ऑलरेडी एग्जिस्टिंग चीज थी. बिकॉज सी, इसका जो रीड का कंसेप्ट है वो ये है कि वंस यू हैव रिटन, you will be only reading that area, but every day you are not doing that for your booting procedure. क्योंकि आपको वो स्टार्ट ही वहां से बायोस ऑपरेशन को करना है. सो यू हैव मॉडिफाइड दैट थिंग बिकॉज यू आर नॉट इंटरेस्टेड इन the earlier existing operating system, so you have changed that and you have given the instruction for booting sequence of that. Clear? But every day when we boot the system, we are not going to read, or we are not going to, sorry, we are not going to update or modify that particular area. That is the meaning of read only part. Now is it clear?
And it is basically read specific memory.
Yes, yes,
The
we can
reading
say.
cycles are more than the
Yes,
writing cycle.
it's just like once we have written, that will be further used for only reading part of it, right?
Oh,
Any other doubt, any other question to anyone?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay, done. So let's proceed further. And we are having this secondary memory. All of you are aware of that. That this is your hard disk drive, and where you will be saving your data permanently, and where you have this data for further usage for reusability. And there are lot many additions into that. Lots of variety of these drives are available. You have already secondary memory into the area, and you can go for external hard drive also. You can go for pen drive, you can go for USB slots, and you can have some kind of card reader also, which can be used there for reading or writing your data. So there are many more things which are possible with this secondary memory, where we will be writing data for permanent usage. If you are having your programs, you can also save those workspaces, which is your project. If you wanted to save your documents which you are every day preparing, it can be Word, it can be PDF, it can be some kind of a book. All those things will directly go to this secondary memory, where you are saving your data for permanent storage. And there is a huge variety of those things, and we will be seeing that all those things in literature also, what all category is available, and how which one is faster and which one we should go for that. And already everyday flash drives are there. You have lots of kind of optical drives are there. CD drive is there. You have your pen drive, which is more than the capacity which is available. So there are lot many flavors which are there, which is to just to store your data, which is permanent in nature. And we can have variety of you can say files extension. You can save your programs, you can save your application software, you can say MS file, your Word file. If you are interested in some kind of designer software, those extensions can also be saved. But the major motive behind this storage is to for the reusability of data and further access of data. And there can be a possibility, if there is some issue with the hard drive, you may lose this data also. So there you always take a backup also. Okay, some data you have written, so you should take regular backup also in some other drive, so that if there is any failure, you should be able to retrieve the state back. So all those things are available in your system also. But by default we have this hard disk functionality, which is there with the help of this secondary memory. Just give me a second. Exam is also. Is there any student Ritambara in this class? If she is having any issues with the computer, I cannot see. Ritambara. Let me see. Okay, so then the other difference which is there is between RAM and hard disk, which is your temporary storage and your permanent storage. So if you see, this permanent storage is talking about your files, your programs. increased capacity is also there, and don't go by this storage, because now a lot of storage space is also available, and there is no turn off of power failure is there. If you have written something on your hard disk, that will remain safe until unless that particular platter or that particular sector is not corrupted, because this particular memory has the concept of sectors and platters where you will be storing your data. And whereas in case of your RAM, those will be consisting of lots of chips, lots of microprocessor are there. They can be arranged in sequentially or vertically also. So there is a huge combination of this memory area, and basically we only go for this particular hard disk drive is to permanently store the data and for reusability. So that is the major difference, and all of us are aware of those functionality, because every day we are saving our data, and for future scope also we take regular backups, because if there is any data which is corrupted or something is there, some attack is there, some kind of virus is there which can corrupt your file system, in that case you should take regular backup. And in case of RAM, this is only for your temporary access of data and for processing of that data. Fine. So that is the major difference between your RAM and hard disk. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubt?
Yes, ma'am.
We will be seeing this part which is talking about this platter, and how this hard disk is being arranged and how those data will be written. We will be discussing that also in detail. Fine. Right now we are only seeing the difference between these kinds of memories which are available, and what is their role when your computer is working or your computer is functional. So from that aspect, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes, ma'am.
now this particular term we have touched upon in previous lecture, which is your power on self test, which I told you that has a major role play when you start your computer. And what exactly we mean by that? So this power on self test is the very first step that happens when you switch on your computer. And what exactly it is check? It is basically checking. It is sending one signal to each and every system, or you can say hardware which is connected. For example, testing of RAM is there. If there is any issue with the RAM, it will definitely come up with some kind of beep messages there, or some kind of screen will come up as a dark blue screen or black screen will come up. Then keyboard will be tested whether you have interrupts on your keyboard, which is your input device. And hard disk drive is also detected and initialized, meaning if you wanted to read something from that hard disk, that should also be functional. And these all operations is being done with the help of this power on self test, where a signal is being sent to each and every, you can say, your hardware which is being connected. And if you see, if you have your mouse connected, uh, if you have lots of devices connected when you start your system, your this operation will remain, or you can say there is a time delay will be there, because उसके केस में क्या है, वो यूएसबी में भी पास करेगा, because that is connected. Your mouse which is connected is also sends a signal to that. Suppose you have connected your microphones to that, that will also it will send a signal to that. It will send for the acknowledgement also. So how the devices which are there which you have connected, it's being tested, which is being first it is being tested whether it is working fine or not, and it will notify you with the errors also. Sometimes some of the slots of USB is not working, or your CD ROM is having some issue, that will also be notified when we start up with the system. First, you can say data which is going to be read, and for processing it is going to be used. Your keyboard, your motherboard, everything is going to be tested with the help of this power on self test. And if you see these kind of things, workflow will be there. You will be having first the power on, then it will be reading first instruction from ROM, and then in your read only memory, the first instruction which is there is power on self test, which is sending signal to each and every hardware connected, and then your boot up sequence will start, which is your operating system. But before mounting and before booting that operating system, first it will check with each and every hardware which is connected with the system, and it will notify you with the errors also. And those error will be something like this. अगर आपको याद हो जो आप पुराना जो डेस्कटॉप आप जो यूज़ करते थे, अभी लैपटॉप पे तो नहीं, लैपटॉप पे तो आपके सिर्फ लाइट्स और वो ब्लिंक करती हैं, बट most of the time when we used to have the desktop kind of machine, we used to have this kind of error: no beep, continuous beep, repeating short beep, and each and every signal has a corresponding error also related to that when we go for this power on self test. और अभी अपने लैपटॉप पे देखो, जब स्टार्ट करते हो एवरी कंपोनेंट इज ब्लिंकिंग व्हेन यू स्टार्ट विद द सिस्टम. अगर आपने माउस पे भी किया है तो माउस का भी आपका लाइट ब्लिंक करेगा. Everywhere that signal goes and it will blink and it will give you a notification that whether it is working fine or there is an issue with that particular slot where you have connected with the device. Fine. So this is your first thing which is there from your ROM itself, which is read-only memory, where this instruction is being written for power on self-test. And once this test is over, and it notifies you with the condition if any error is there, or if it is working fine with the minimum configuration, then it will start with the booting up sequence. Fine. And from there, your operating system will start booting into the memory, and then you can work with the system. Is it clear that the term that we have discussed earlier, that there is a power on self test? Now is it clear?
Ma'am,
Yes.
you said that last time कि पावर ऑन सेल टेस्ट में कि एक इलेक्ट्रिकल सिग्नल जाता है केवल ये चेक करने के लिए कि कंपोनेंट कनेक्टेड है या नहीं है. तो मैम यूएसबी पोर्ट्स कैसे, आपने कहा अभी यूएसबी चेक करते
देखो
हैं.
देखो अभी अभी जैसे हमने इस पावर ऑन सर्फ टेस्ट की बात करी, ठीक है, आपके पास कितने स्लॉट्स हैं अभी इसमें? अगर आप देखोगे, आपके पास नेटवर्क कार्ड भी आता है, आपके पास आपका ग्राफिक कार्ड भी आता है, ठीक है. ये सब क्या है? दीज आर द हार्डवेयर विच इज कनेक्टेड टू योर मशीन्स. राइट. अगर आप अपने सिस्टम पे अगर आप इसको देख के चलो, अगर मैं इसको सिंपली इस फॉर्म में लेके चलती हूँ, ये वाले डायग्राम में, ठीक है. अगर हम इसकी बात करें, इस डायग्राम की बात करें, तो आपने सबसे पहले क्या किया? व्हेन यू स्टार्ट अप योर मशीन, आपके पास ये वाला पूरा पार्ट कनेक्टेड है. यू विल बी हैविंग योर मदरबोर्ड, यू विल बी हैविंग योर हार्ड डिस्क, यू विल बी हैविंग योर इनपुट डिवाइसेस. एंड उसमें भी देखो आपको इनपुट डिवाइसेस में इसने सारे कॉम्बिनेशंस दिए हैं विच इज कनेक्टेड. एंड हाउ यू आर गोइंग टू कनेक्ट देम? विद द हेल्प ऑफ दीज स्लॉट्स इटसेल्फ. अगर मेरे पास एक मिनिमम कॉन्फ़िगरेशन है कि मैं एक मेरे पास कीबोर्ड है, मेरे पास एक मॉनिटर है, और मेरा सिस्टम कनेक्टेड है विद सिंपल माय हार्ड ड्राइव से मैं सर्वाइव कर रही हूँ. आई डोंट हैव एनी अदर थिंग माउंटेड इनटू दैट. सो ये क्या करेगा? फर्स्ट थिंग, it will send a signal to RAM whether it is working fine or not. It will be sending one signal to my motherboard also whether it is working fine or not. It is sending signal to my keyboard also, which is my input interface. But if I have connected those many input devices, those also will be checked with the help of this operation. Fine. And it is nothing but kind of an interrupt which goes to every you can say connected device which is there. And if it is not there, suppose मेरे USB slots सारे open पड़े हुए हैं, nothing is there, nothing is connected, so then it will be simply going for the connected devices which is there. And if you see with this operation, सबसे पहले आपका RAM पे जाएगा, आपका motherboard, your keyboard, and then your hard drive also is going to be checked. So this is how it is working. But if you have connected many more slots, then also those things also will be notified and checked. Clear? Now is it clear?
So ma'am, just check the serial connectivity whether it is connected or
Yes,
not.
yes, yes. और and suppose अगर मैं ये बोलती हूँ कि मैंने कनेक्ट किया हुआ है एक स्कैनर पे कनेक्ट किया हुआ है, ठीक है, बट somehow some problem is there with my scanner, तो ये सिंपली मुझे बस एक नोटिफाई कर देगा. बिकॉज ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम को बूट करने के लिए या फर्दर कुछ ऑपरेशंस करने के लिए उसको स्कैनर की ज़रूरत नहीं है, बट इट विल नोटिफाई यू दैट दिस पर्टिकुलर स्लॉट इज नॉट वर्किंग. तो आपने कई बार देखा होगा कि आपको अगर आपकी कुछ स्लॉट्स वर्क नहीं कर रहे हैं, वो आपको नोटिफाई करता है जब वो स्टार्ट होगा, या अगर आपकी कोई डिवाइस कनेक्टेड है. बट इट विल ऑल्सो स्टार्ट बूटिंग अप योर ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम ऑल्सो, बिकॉज उसका मिनिमम कॉन्फ़िगरेशन जो है दैट इज सफिशिएंट इनफ, दैट इज वर्किंग. सो इट विल स्टार्ट booting up with the booting up sequence. Now is it clear?
Yes.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, beta.
Ma'am, if I have connected my headphone after half an hour of switching on the laptop, then also it will perform the
No,
POST
no,
on
no,
the.
no, 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 no. In that case, आपका वो क्या चेक करेगा? ऑलरेडी सिस्टम स्टार्टेड है, आपने जब उसके अंदर उसको जैक किया है या उसको जब आपने माउंट किया है, तो वो जस्ट उसका ये चेक करेगा ड्राइवर है या नहीं है। नहीं है तो वो उसका साथ के साथ में ड्राइवर भी माउंट कर देता है ना?
Okay.
बट व्हेन द फर्स्ट टाइम व्हेन यू स्टार्ट विद द सिस्टम, अगर आप देखो, आप जब सिस्टम को स्लीप करवा देते हो, है ना, अभी हम जैसे लैपटॉप पे कर रहे हैं, आई डोंट हैव एनी लेक्चर आफ्टरवर्ड्स, आई सिंपली जस्ट स्लीप दिस पर्टिकुलर मशीन एंड सपोज आफ्टर 2 hours I'll come up, then it won't follow with the booting up sequence, right? It will only start from the instruction where I have left. वो फिर से मुझे लॉगिन स्क्रीन पे लेके जाएगा और वो जो मेरी लास्ट स्टेट थी उसमें मुझे वापस ले जाएगा, बट इट वोंट स्टार्ट विद द पावर ऑन सेल्फ टेस्ट. Power on self test is when you're booting up your machine, or you have switched off your machine and afterwards again you are starting it up. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me,
Now, yes, beta.
ma'am, are these signals for modern laptops also? Because
Yes, beta.
in my
Uh-huh.
ma'am, but in my laptop, actually the display cable it's not working
Uh-huh.
and the display doesn't work. I am
Uh-huh.
getting it fixed right now, but
Okay.
right now the display doesn't work, and whenever I switch it on, there's no
Hmm.
beep or nothing, and I have a
See,
blank screen too.
that's why I told you ना, these messages it was there in your desktop machine. अगर आपको याद हो, आपके जो पुराने जो डेस्कटॉप होते थे, है ना,
Yes.
जो
Yes.
पहले आप स्क्रीन वगैरह पे करते थे उसमें, बट स्टिल अगर आप पीछे इसको बनवाने के लिए लेके जाओगे, when you will go for that particular hardware machine, what they will
Yes.
start, they will वो number of time उसको वो क्लिक करते हैं and they will see कितनी बार ब्लिंक कर रहा है. Now that combination has been changed. अगर आप इन्हीं error detection का मैसेज देखो, so those error has been because अब कोई बीप वगैरह नहीं है, वो सिंपली एक ब्लिंक के उसके ऊपर चलते हैं कि okay, there can be a possibility some blink combination is there for that. Okay?
Okay, so there can be an error message also
Yes,
indicating.
yes, 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 yes.
Okay, okay.
ये मैंने सिर्फ इसलिए बताया बिकॉज ये वो टर्म है जिससे हम अवेयर हैं. आपको याद हो तो आपका कीबोर्ड पे अगर आपका हाथ रखा हुआ है तो वो नॉन स्टॉप बजता रहता था, है ना, या बुक उसके ऊपर रख गई है तो फिर वो बजता रहेगा, नॉन स्टॉप पीप देता रहेगा,
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
है ना, वो इसी वजह से था बिकॉज दैट वाज द एरर व्हिच वाज देयर. ओके, एनी अदर क्वेश्चन इन दिस पावर ऑन सेल्फ टेस्ट? ओके, सो नाउ दिस कंप्लीट ब्लॉक डायग्राम जिसको हम शुरू से फॉलो करते हुए आ रहे हैं कि how this computer will work and how this particular machine is working. So we have already seen what is primary memory. We have seen this external memory which can be your hard disk drive. Earlier we used to have floppy disk drive also. CD-ROM is already there. Magnetic tapes are there. Now you have a USB for storage also. You have external drive concept also. You can connect with external drive. You can connect with USB. Lots of external memory and storage is also there. And in your input, there is a huge variety of input devices that can be connected with your system. Similarly, your output devices. In memory, for internal, you have random access memory, and we have seen what exactly is the role of read-only memory and what is the role of random access memory. Then, for processing all those things as an instruction, we have a microprocessor, we have a CPU, which is the heart of the operating system, sorry, heart of your computers, which is arithmetical logical unit is there, your controlling section is there or your control unit is there. Other than that, we are having internal communication and we are having certain registers which are there for temporary storage. Why it is there? See, this uh, CPU, this motherboard is actually talking about processing of the instruction. Fine. Instructions can be of size 16-bit, 32-bit, 64-bit, and we can have instruction of size 128-bit also, but that require that kind of processor support also. So when we are saying this instruction to work something, instruction to do something, that instruction should be interpreted by this ALU, by this microprocessor. अगर आप कैलकुलेट कर रहे हो तो कैलकुलेट करने में भी you require operand, you require operators. So who will do that particular task? For that we require certain temporary storage within CPU also. which are very fast, or you can say very fast storage and very fast accessibility of that memory is there in terms of registers. And we will be having internal communication also within those registers, and there is a huge variety of registers also. Through that it will be read, through that it will be communicated, and those instruction will be controlled also. Because see, if there is a program which has a sequence of instructions, then those instructions should be read in a way. जैसे हमने कल एक प्रोग्राम एग्जीक्यूट किया था, हमने वहाँ पे क्या किया था, हमने एक हैश इंक्लूड डाला था, वी हैव रिटन void main, and we have written a statement to print something on the console. Those are the instructions. Hash include stdio.h, hash include iostream.h. This is one instruction. This is one instruction which is telling you that there is a library by this name and I should link this library. But who will do all those things? Those instructions should be read, those instructions should be interpreted, those instructions should be calculated, and then you are performing with this particular system. अगर आप कंपाइलर को देखो, कंपाइलर आपने आपने बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स ने बोला वी हैव बोरलैंड कंपाइलर एट आवर सिस्टम, वी हैव टर्बो सी कंपाइलर, but that compiler is stored in which slot? In your hard disk memory. आपने C colon program files में आपने turbo C compiler को रखा होगा, and if you open that turbo C compiler, there is a library folder is there, there is a source folder is there, where you are having all those files which are there for executing, for compiling your program. You require that support also. But once those instructions will be read and those instructions will be further communicating with your output device, आपने जब किया था कि hello world, that hello word is being printed on your output device, which is your your monitor was there, and in that monitor you were printing this value which is over here. आपका कंपाइलर पड़ा हुआ है आपकी सेकेंडरी मेमोरी में, वहाँ से आपने अपने आईडी को स्टार्ट किया, you are taking certain input, those instructions will be read, and that output has been communicated to your output device. If you see, there was interaction with this hard disk drive where you have your compiler. In compiler you have written some program, and maybe you will be scanning your input also through your keyboard, so that is also there, and you will be doing certain calculation. For that you require this section also, and for interaction you require this RAM memory also, because that is further taking those input temporary, and further for communication it goes to your registers also. Fine. And once those instruction or those things has been completed, you are getting an output to your output device also. So अगर आप देखें, your compiler is started from this area. When you started interacting, you require this RAM memory. To load, you require this ROM memory. For communication, for your processing, you require this CPU memory, and output is further given to you on this output interface. So this is how your each and every part is playing a major role when we communicate. Clear? And for ALU, for your CPU, we have that storage which is very fast storage in the terms of registers. And आपको याद हो कल मैंने बार बार एक चीज़ बोली थी, we will be having variety of variables. When we were talking about that global declaration part, we were saying that we can have global functions also, we can have global variables also, which can be shared among all. So all those types, all that storage is also possible with the help of these kinds of memory. आप register variables भी create कर सकते हो for faster access, and that will be visible to you when we go for those pointers and those memory access which are very fast. We can go for those register variables which are there for faster accessing and for faster execution. तो यहाँ पे ये जो आपने पूरा कंसेप्ट पढ़ा है मेमोरी का, ये सिमिलर पार्ट जब आप एक्चुअल प्रोग्रामिंग करोगे, हाउ यू आर राइटिंग योर इंस्ट्रक्शंस, हाउ यू आर टेकिंग इंटरप्ट. अभी क्या है, अभी आपके पास फंक्शंस हैं. printf is there to print something on your printer, scanf is there to take certain input from your keyboard, and suppose you want to take some mouse interrupt also, there is also possibility for that also. There is library which is available, and if you wanted to create certain variables which should be available for access, for providing you that data, you can create those variables also. Fine. So you will be having separate section which is available, and in that area you will be working, and we will be seeing with the help of a memory map कि memory map में कैसे ये memory divided होती है, and how you will be reading those instruction, how you will be writing them in very much detail. So till now whatever we have discussed, will you be able to relate with this diagram, or any doubt to anyone?
Ma'am, I have a doubt.
Yes.
Ma'am, ROM is quite a small amount of memory. So
Yes.
we install BIOS on ROM, but then is there any space left for mounting the OS?
See, that instruction is only telling you from where you will be booting your operating system. If you see in your hard drive, there is a folder for your operating system also. आपने देखा होगा आपके प्रोग्राम फाइल्स में फोल्डर होता है ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम का, एंड इफ यू वांटेड टू एक्सेस दैट इट विल गिव यू दैट एक्सेस की यू आर नॉट you don't have right to access and you don't modify this particular file. Those files and those things are still there in your memory itself, but BIOS has, or the ROM has, only the instruction from where you will be booting that particular part. ठीक है, अब जैसे इस रूम में बहुत सारा सामान आपके रूम में रखा हुआ है, ठीक है, आपको कुछ सर्च करना है, या तो मैं आपको पूरी इंस्ट्रक्शन बताऊं कि गो टू दिस पर्टिकुलर एल्मीरा, इन एल्मीरा देयर इज अ कैबिनेट, इन कैबिनेट थर्ड स्लॉट उसमें जाओ और वहां से जाके उसको रीड करो, ठीक है, या मैं आपको सीधे बताऊं कि पूरा एक आपको डायग्राम जैसा बना के दे दूं, नो 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 इसको फॉलो करो एंड देन गो टू दैट. ये क्या बता रहा है, दिस BIOS ऑपरेशन इज ओनली टेलिंग यू द एब्सोल्यूट पाथ from where you will be booting this particular operating system. Clear? It is not having the complete operating system into that. It is only giving you the booting sequence into that. Okay?
Okay.
Now is it clear?
Yes.
Yes, Takshit, you are asking something?
मैम यू
हाँ.
से कि मैम रोम रीड ओनली होती है मैम, लेकिन फ्लैश टूल से मतलब रोम को मतलब कर सकते हैं मॉडिफाई.
बेटा तुम्हारी वॉइस ना बहुत ब्रेक हो रही है, एक बार रिपीट करोगे क्वेश्चन?
मैम वो नेटवर्क इशू आ रहा है.
दक्षित, तुमको मैं कुछ सुन नहीं पा रही हूँ क्लियरली. आई थिंक तुम ये पूछ रहे हो कि ये रीड ओनली मेमोरी होती है और इसको हम चेंज नहीं कर सकते, ऐसा कुछ पूछ रहे हो?
मैम ये पूछ रहा हूँ कि फ्लैश टूल से हम रोम को चेंज कर सकते हैं,
बेटा
लेकिन मैम
डेफिनेटली.
इसमें
सी,
लिखा है.
हाँ देखो सुनो, जो टूल्स की आप बातें कर रहे हो, बायोस में ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता कि हमने, जब आप अपनी मशीन को कुछ प्रॉब्लम आ जाता है, कोई इशू आ जाता है, सम प्रॉब्लम इज देयर विद योर बायोस, सम प्रॉब्लम इज देयर विद द ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम, दे स्टार्ट विद दिस बूटिंग सीक्वेंस इनटू दैट. आपको याद हो वहाँ पे वो कुछ फंक्शन कीज यूज़ करते हैं और उनके पास ये पूरा बायोस की इन्फॉर्मेशन आ जाती है, and they do certain configuration into that. They simply do master slave relationship also, कि rather than reading operating system from your machine, read it from this drive, करते हैं ना वो सब ये सारा काम. Those operations will be available, but once you have written, don't open those settings every day, है ना. बट इफ देर इज एनी इशू विद बायोस ऑपरेशन एंड इफ यू वांटेड टू चेंज दैट स्लॉट कि नहीं 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 मेरा बूटिंग सीक्वेंस ये ना हो या बल्कि ये होना चाहिए, एंड मोस्टली फॉर डीबगिंग एंड फॉर इश्यूज रिलेटेड टू योर हार्डवेयर एंड फॉर योर सिस्टम, जब आप इस टाइप के आपके इश्यूज आते हैं तो जो हार्डवेयर इंजीनियर होता है वो क्या करता है, मेनली वो बायोस सेटिंग के साथ ही प्ले करता है, मास्टर स्लेव रिलेशनशिप करेगा या आपका बायोस का स्लॉट चेंज कर देगा कि नो डोंट रीड ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम फ्रॉम हेयर, रीड इट फ्रॉम हेयर ऑल्सो, है ना. तो वो सारे ऑपरेशन डेफिनेटली देर आर टूल्स, देर आर थिंग्स विच आर अवेलेबल, बट ओनली फॉर मेंटेनेंस एंड फॉर that controlling aspect of it, but every day we are not updating them, we are not modifying them, we are only reading those instructions. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
now is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Any other doubt to anyone?
मैम
Yes,
रजिस्टर्स में
Parth.
डाउट है.
Registers. Okay, पूछो.
मैम वो समझ नहीं आया सही से, केवल
देखो,
फास्ट एक्सेस
जैसे
के लिए
जैसे हाँ
होते हैं.
सुनो, जैसे हमने बोला ना कि प्राइमरी मेमोरी है, प्राइमरी में हमने बोला कि बूटिंग सीक्वेंस के लिए हमारे पास रोम है ना. हमने टेम्परेरी जो हमारा ये जो कम्युनिकेशन हो रहा है, अगर आप देखोगे तो अगर आप देखोगे इनपुट डिवाइसेस और इस रैम के बीच में कम्युनिकेशन किसके थ्रू हो रहा है, विद द हेल्प ऑफ दिस रैम इटसेल्फ. है ना। एंड रोम में अगर देखोगे तो यहाँ से ये सिर्फ ये बता रहा है कि हाँ कुछ आउटपुट डिवाइसेस पे कुछ हमारे पास एक इंटरप्ट जा रहा है, अगर हमें इंटरप्ट सेंड करना है तो ठीक है। अदरवाइज आप अगर मेजर कम्युनिकेशन देखो तो टू वे कम्युनिकेशन आपका इस पूरे इंटरफेस में इस बस के थ्रू, बस इज नथिंग बट आपका इंस्ट्रक्शन कि आपको कैरी करके आपके इंस्ट्रक्शंस को लेके जा रहा है, ठीक है। दिस इज जस्ट लाइक अ कैरियर, दिस इज नथिंग बट अ कैरियर for instruction. If you see over here, there is a two-way communication, and whatever interrupt is being generated by those devices will be read via this RAM memory, right? और इसके थ्रू अगर आप देखो यहाँ पे अगर आप देखोगे तो डायरेक्टली आपका कम्युनिकेशन हो रहा है, क्योंकि अगर आपको कुछ इसमें से रीड करके कुछ चेंजेस करने हैं, डेफिनेटली यू विल बी हैविंग दैट एक्सेसिबिलिटी with the help of your motherboard or sorry with the help of your microprocessor also. But आपके पास ये मेमोरी है फॉर टेम्परेरी, दिस इज फॉर बायोस, दिस इज फॉर परमानेंट स्टोरेज। बट जब ALU यहाँ पे जब कुछ कैलकुलेशन हो रही है, अगर मैं बोलती हूँ कि यहाँ पे A+B हो रहा है, तो A की वैल्यू भी तो कहीं पे रीड करोगे, B की वैल्यू भी कहीं पे रीड करोगे, एंड देन यू आर डूइंग सर्टेन ऑपरेशन इनटू दैट। Who will do that and where exactly is that memory? That memory is your fast registers. They are very fast, they simply read the instruction, take only that data which is very much required. And शुभ बेटा ये इसका ओपन करो, बैटरी इसकी डाउन हो रही है। नहीं नहीं चार्जर ऑन नहीं है बेटा इसका, लैपटॉप ऑन करो। थैंक यू। सो this particular registers are only available for your microprocessor for doing all those calculations which are there.
And
Clear?
कैश मेमोरी
अभी इसको उससे रिलेट मत करो, वो हम पढ़ेंगे अभी। अभी इसके रोम के भी बहुत सारे वैरायटी पढ़ोगे, पी रोम, एस रोम, एस पी रोम, पी आर ए रोम, अभी बहुत सारे पढ़ोगे। अभी इसमें बिल्कुल इतने उस पर जंप मत करो अभी, ठीक है। अभी के लिए सिर्फ इसको ऐसे मान के चलो, फास्टर एक्सेस मेमोरी ओनली फॉर CPU, इंटरनल मेमोरी रैम एंड रोम। अब इसके बहुत सारे कन्वर्जन्स भी हैं, वो हम धीरे धीरे पढ़ेंगे, ठीक है। नाउ इज इट क्लियर? Okay, now
Yes.
now I should start with your attendance also. It's already 4:05. तुम लोगों के साथ डिस्कशन करने में मुझे मजा आता है, तुम बहुत अच्छे क्वेश्चन पुट करते हो, गुड। मैं 5th सेमेस्टर में भी पढ़ा रही हूँ, 7th सेमेस्टर में भी पढ़ा रही हूँ,